So this is Tova's question. Tova's question is that there's a couple of lines there in Koheles, in Ecclesiastes. Most of Ecclesiastes, by the way, is very depressing.
No, I know. I've
Yeah.
read the whole thing.
But there is a couple of lines that are not depressing over there, which Tova chose
That's the ones I chose.
about how you're
Towards
supposed to enjoy the things that God gave you.
like your food, your
And the
love,
woman that God gave
the
you to,
woman
right,
or the
yeah,
man that God gave
right,
you.
yeah, right,
I think he meant that
right.
too.
Enjoy it, okay.
Okay.
After he told you that everything is a waste of time,
You
and
go to the grave. But this is your reward
yeah, he doesn't
for
say.
all that.
So what's the problem?
So that seems to contrast with Tanya,
Yeah,
which says everything is supposed to be for the sake of God. You don't
right.
just enjoy your food. You have to be thinking of God and doing service to God.
But can you enjoy your food?
Well, that's my question. Can you just enjoy your
So
food?
answer me. So what does Tanya say? Can you enjoy your food?
I don't know.
Yeah, we will. What would
No,
Rav
you
Nach
can't enjoy
remember?
your food unless
Remember
it's for
Rabbi.
the service of God.
Remember what Rav Nachman said about the wine, and Rava said
I
about
don't remember what.
Rava said about the marbled meat and the
Yeah, but
aromatic.
only if it was for the service of God.
Right.
Only on Shabbat could you.
No, he didn't say only on
Really sit
Shabbat.
down.
He didn't say only on Shabbat. He said that it broadens the mind. That eating marbled meat and spiced mulled wine broadens the mind. And obviously he meant enjoying it, because if you don't enjoy it, so how is it going to broaden the mind? So it also says that a beautiful home with beautiful furniture and a beautiful wife are also broaden the mind. And
Okay, I skipped that part.
okay.
In time, but not in.
Yes, but the enjoyment has to be a meaningful enjoyment within a greater context. I'm not enjoying it because I'm a glutton in this world and I enjoy it. No, everything that I do has meaning and purpose, including my enjoyment of things.
But it didn't say that. In Ecclesiastes, I got it more that just enjoying your food and your wine.
So I want you to
is a
read
reward
the chapters.
for everything else.
I want you to read the parts before and the parts after.
I did.
It's very depressing.
I know. And this is your reward.
No,
Eat your bread with joy and drink your wine with a glad heart.
Yeah.
And enjoy life with the woman you love. And this is your reward.
What are you getting a reward for?
Pardon?
What's the reward for doing?
For just living. Oh, it says, well, I remember it. For all the toil and the misery that you've
The toil means the toil.
In your fleeting days before you go to the grave.
Yeah.
Which is going to be soon.
Yeah.
It didn't say that it had a purpose. It said this is your reward.
But the whole book is telling you that everything's a waste of time.
It's
Except
telling you what?
everything is a waste of time. It says only one thing that's not a waste of time, and that's the amal, the labor for God. V'zeh kol ha'adam, he says at the end. That's the entire person. That's Elokim Yirah, it's mitzvosav shmor, kizeh kol ha'adam. To have fear for God and keep his mitzvahs, because that is the entire person. So the words, Zeh kol ha'adam, that's all there is to the human being. That's what he says.
Yeah, you're supposed to do all the mitzvahs. You're not supposed to.
No, he doesn't say you're supposed to do all the mitzvahs. He says, Zeh kol ha'adam. There is nothing else about the human being except for that.
And this is your reward for it.
If the Hamantasha,
yeah.
The reward for that, you can't possibly receive in this world as it is now.
No, but he
no. But you can get a little bit. Yeah, because if you have, for example,
this is your compensation for all your toil.
Yeah, right. For example, if you have a person who's a wicked person, does bad things their whole life.
Oh no.
And one time this person happened to do something nice to somebody. He did something nice. So, there was a Jew in Russia. His last name was Nachmanson, and he joined during Stalin's time the Yevtsektia, and he was one of the two who arrested the previous Rebbe, and interrogated him in prison, and he was tortured. But when he came to arrest the Rebbe, he showed him a little respect. He waited for him, and he ordered the officer to carry the Rebbe's things for him. And so, what happened with him? All the other members of the Yevtsektia were murdered by Stalin, and he survived. And they found him much later, decades later, eating in the soup kitchen in Siberia somewhere for the Chesed Fund, the Jewish Chesed Fund for Jews. And so he was able to survive and drink his bowl of soup. So he got his reward in this world for the good things that he did. That's what happens with a person who does bad things. As God says, well, we have to give him his reward. So we give him his reward in this world, his bowl of soup. And then the next world, we can take care of him and clean him up, because it's not going to be very nice over there. Whereas another person may have a lot of fantastic things that they did, but they have a little bit of not so good. So better that he should get the punishment in this world, so he can get all of his reward in the world to come. So which reward is Shlomo Melech talking about over there? I'm not sure which reward it is. But if the reward that a person gets in this world is a little bit of hamantash and a brisket or something like that, I might be concerned what's going to happen for him in the next world.
Well,
That's his entire reward.
He doesn't say you're supposed
But
to eat like
if his reward is that he has,
be
if his
good.
reward is that he has children and grandchildren are going in the ways of Torah, now that's already a little piece of, the story also. I'll tell this story with Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, who gave brachas to all sorts of people, and all his blessings always helped people. So his wife says to him, you give all these blessings to all these people, and here we are, we have nothing. We have nothing. We're the poorest people, we have nothing. So pray for something, pray for us too. Okay, my wife says I have to pray, so he prays to heaven. What do you know? Out of heaven falls a golden leg of a table. Falls from heaven. And he says, look, God answered the prayers. Golden leg of a table. And she looks and she's horrified. She says, you know what this means? What does it mean? It means that when we go to the world to come and we sit down for our reward for a meal, the table, in those days, the Roman tables had 3 legs. Our table will have only 2 legs. So he says, so what should I do? Tell them to take it back. He said, but don't you know in heaven there's a sign? No returns. He says, tell them to take it back. But she says, you're Chanina ben Dosa, your prayers work. Everybody knows your prayers always work. So he says, God, you mind just this one time breaking the policy and taking it back? And they took it back. They said it was the greatest miracle that Rabbi Chanina ever performed, that they took it back. So watch out.
Anyhow, it's okay to enjoy.
Yeah, you should enjoy. You should enjoy for the sake of heaven.
For the sake of heaven.
I read the other day that when a person is enjoying, their body releases all sorts of endorphins, including oxytocin. Oxytocin helps you to heal. And it was a big study, a small group, but a very interesting study. But basically, the short part of it is that they found evidence that people, by enjoying, they're healed faster. So that's another reason to enjoy, because you're saying, I'm not enjoying for the sake of enjoying. I'm enjoying so that I can heal, so I can better serve Hashem, you see.
But do you have to keep in mind that you're doing it so you could
Everything you
service
do
Hashem?
has to be with
That's the
kavanah.
I
That's the word,
like.
kavanah. That's the lifestyle, the product brand, right? Kavanah. Everything has your mind involved. Why am I doing this? There's nothing that's mindless. Because if it's mindless, you're just another organism on the planet. But you're not another organism. You have a divine soul. So how can you just do like the animal eats, so I eat? They can't do that. I have a divine soul. So that's the story. So, but thank you very much for bringing up the question. And if it still bothers you, yeah, bring it up again. But I'll tell you what, I'll look at that passage in Alice, and I'll see what the commentaries there have to say. I like the part about it with the woman that God gave you.
I like that part.
That's the best part. Okay.
Oh, it's fun.
What chapter verse is that?
I didn't write it down, but I'll find
Yeah,
it.
you can find it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I don't know how many times we started chapter 10, but I'm working on chapter 10 now. So if you will compare this to the last sheet I gave you, you'll notice a lot of changes, but we're working on it. So let me back up because we didn't have a class for a while. So in chapter 1, we found that there's not just wicked people and good people and the people in between. There's actually 5 divisions. And those aren't called just 5 levels. They're called 5 divisions. Divisions mean, as opposed to level, if it's levels, you would say, I imagine my chart over here because I didn't bring it with me. Imagine this is the chart, okay? So down at the bottom would be completely black, and up at the top would be completely white, right? So it's one-dimensional. As you're going up, it's a gradient, and it gets less and less and less and less dark, and more and more and more bright. That's all. And that's how most people understand good and bad. That there's really, really bottom of the barrel bad. Then there's not so bad, and even less bad. And then it gets a little bit good, and more good, and more good, until you get to the top. And that's how they would classify people as well. So one-dimensional. But if it's one-dimensional, you wouldn't say that there are 5 divisions. They wouldn't be called divisions. They'd just be gradients. And they wouldn't be 5. They would be just 3, whatever, or 2 poles. So 5 what does it mean there are 5 divisions? 5 divisions mean that if you're in this division, at some point you step out of there, go through a door, and now you're in a completely different space. And then you leave that space, and now you're a completely different space. And it goes on like that. So to go from a Russia to a Beinoni, you went out one door and came in another. You're in a different space. Even though the 5 divisions are completely wicked. From completely wicked to incompletely wicked, it's a completely different space. It's not just a step up, it's a completely different space. There was a fundamental change between the two, going either direction. For a person to become completely wicked, there's a fundamental change in this person to go there. Okay, so then he gets to this thing of not so wicked, and then, okay, there's gradients along there. To get from there to the Beinoni, something fundamental happened. The Beinoni to become a tzaddik, again, something fundamental happens. And in the tzaddik, you have the incomplete tzaddik and the complete tzaddik. To go from incomplete tzaddik to complete tzaddik, there's another fundamental change. And the further along, higher you go up, the changes become much more significant. So the greatest change of all of them is that shift from the incomplete tzaddik to the complete tzaddik. That's the biggest of all of them. And actually, elsewhere, one of the commentaries on the Zohar says that each one is a world. that correspond to the four worlds. The tzaddik corresponds to the world of Atzilus, the godly world, the complete tzaddik. The incomplete tzaddik to the world of Bria, creation. The Beinoni to the world of Yetzirah, and the incomplete Rasha to the world of Asiya, which is our world. What about the complete Rasha? He's below the world of Klippas. Okay. So now we're going to deal with the tzaddik. This chapter 10 is about the tzaddik. And what we want to understand is this guy's a tzaddik, this guy's a tzaddik. This guy's incomplete, this guy's complete. So it just seems like more tzaddik, that's all. But the difference is that this guy's called tzaddik v'ra lo. A tzaddik who has some bad in him. And this guy's called a tzaddik, and it's all gone. Okay, so when you hear the term tzaddik v'ra lo, yes, some bad. Does that sound similar or completely different to a tzaddik v'tov lo? Right? You would think, well, that's a big difference. But a bigger problem for you. When you hear that a tzaddik v'ra lo, he has bad to him, does it spark a question in your mind? Does that sound right? Does it make sense to you? The term tzaddik, and there's bad in him. What would you imagine that to be? Like, let's say we're just starting from there, and I tell you there's such a person, tzaddik v'ra lo. There's tzaddik and there's bad to him. What would you think? What kind of a person would you imagine?
He doesn't act on the bad. He doesn't act on the bad. He subdues the bad.
Well, that's because you came to Tanya classes.
That's
you
exactly what I was about to say. If you heard it for the first time.
If you heard it for the very first time, what would you think?
First time, I would think, well, then he's bad.
He has some bad in him. Now,
right.
Somebody who does a lot of good things, but sometimes he does something bad.
That's right.
That's what you would think.
That's
but
what,
we're saying, but
if
we
you
all
didn't know.
Yeah, but we already said in chapter 1 that a tzaddik is somebody who has no yetzer hara. He harago b'tainis, he killed it. Like it says, like King David said, Libi halal b'kir, my heart is empty. There's no yetzer hara. So in what way do you have tzaddik v'ra lo? How does that work? Okay, so now we're going to play on that. We started in chapter 9, where we explained that there's a battle going on inside you. It's a battle between good and bad happening inside you, between your instinctual soul and the divine soul. They're at battle. Each one says, it's my body, I'm the boss over here. Your instinctual animal soul says, it's a body. Who runs a body? An animal runs a body. I'm an animal. Give it to me. And it works from the heart. I'm pumping the blood. It's up to me. I take over your brain. I control your brain. And now we got control over you. And the divine says, I've been sent here to take control of this body. And if you want to stick around and serve me, that's fine. But you're not in control over here. You have no authority whatsoever. And so now we're at war with each other. And we said, how do they fight? Do they fight with blades? Do they fight with bullets? What do they fight with? Well, it says the weapon of the divine soul is love.
Is what?
Love. He awakens love through meditation, contemplation. He awakens love in his heart. And then it says the fire gets stronger and stronger and stronger in the right side of the heart until it breaks into the left side of the heart and overwhelms it. And then he said, then he can go up to a yet higher level of love, which will actually transform the left side of the heart, transform the animal and make the animal into, that's a higher type of blissful love that he has to go on to. So, and then he has total control once he's converted. Okay, so So now we can begin to discuss. We're reading inside the paper now. If you're one of those people in the boxes here, it's posted on the chat. You can look at the PDF. Yeah. Now we begin to discuss how this war actually plays out. Let's talk about a person who empowers his divine soul and puts up such a fight with his animalistic soul that he banishes the active bad from within her, eliminating it from the left chamber of his heart. As it says, destroy the bad from within you. But he gets no further. His battle effectively eliminated the active bad, but the essence bad is not genuinely turned around to good. So what do I mean by active bad and essence bad? I have to put that in. Active bad and essence bad. So maybe another way of putting it is the potential bad and the actual bad. There's actual and potential. So let's imagine that you've got a little engine in your heart. What does this engine do? Well, it drives you. What drives a human being? We talked about what is the driving force of any living thing is pleasure. You seek pleasure, avoid pain. So that's what this little engine does. Its thing is to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Is it bad? Oops.
Sorry,
Somebody calling? President again?
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Oh, no.
See, I don't have my hearing aids in, sir.
Oh, so you have to have it on.
It doesn't keep it quiet.
I can speak louder.
Sorry.
So whatchamacallit? So if you have a drive, and the drive is to seek pleasure, because that's what keeps things alive. If something stops seeking pleasure, it dies. So that's the drive there inside your heart. Okay, is it bad?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. No, it doesn't.
There's a part.
What do you think would happen? Would it most likely become good or bad?
Either.
Left alone,
The
like
person.
without a proper upbringing and so on, which way would it go?
I hate to say bad because I don't know if I necessarily.
Well, there's the whatchamacallit, the noble savage idea, but I think we pretty much demonstrated that doesn't really work. So we're animals, so whatever feels good to us, we'll chase after that until we get socialized, all right, and taught that that doesn't work, that's no good, you won't have any friends, that type of thing. But some people get very far with it, and those people who get very far with those things usually have a lot of very good connections and end up running society or connected to people who run society.
Epstein.
I didn't say any names. But those are the people where the pleasure drive just wins, right? And it just sure turns out that the people who seek power are those people very driven in that direction. So this pleasure drive is inclined towards the wrong things. So we say that by default, it's bad because that's where it's going to go by default. But it's not actually bad. It's just potentially bad. It's potential. Then there's the actual bad, because as you grow up, you find, oh, this is good, and I like that, and I can do this, and you could end up anywhere. There's a fallacy that only certain people get attracted towards like the bad stuff. Like only certain people become addicts, or only certain people become rapists or pedophiles or adulterers and so on. But there's no evidence to that. There's no predictor. Anybody could become anything. And you see people who are I've seen it, are very good people and don't do a lot of good things, falling into horrible, horrible habits that hurt other people. It's horrible to see, but it happens. So the Rambam says that the greatest of the sages would tell their students, says, when I'm around my daughter-in-law, watch me, so keep me in check, When I'm around so-and-so, well, keep me in check. And the students were horrified. But they said this to let their students know nobody is safe.
Yeah.
Nobody is safe. It's a story in at one time, times of the Talmud, there was Rav Amram. I think that was the name of Rav Amram. He was considered such a tzaddik, such a pure tzaddik. So in those times, it was common that marauders would abduct women and ransom them, and they had to be rescued and paid for somehow, and so on. This went on for many hundreds of years. Actually, it didn't stop. So one time, they managed to save a group of women, and they had to find these women's husbands where they're going to stay in the meantime. Well, they said, Rav Amram, he's a big tzaddik. We'll keep them there. So Rav Amram says, well, I have an attic, upstairs. Put them, they can stay there. So they stayed there, but he said, but there's a ladder going there. So let's move, all of us together will move the ladder away, just so they know that they're safe. So together, all of them push the ladder, so that, the woman feels safe there. In the middle of the night, the students hear Rabbi Amram screaming, fire, fire! And they all come running. There's Rabbi Amram, he's pushed the ladder back into place. And he's halfway up the ladder and screaming, fire. They said, where's the fire? Says, Amram is on fire. Okay, maybe you can say maybe he did it just to teach them something. It's a good way of teaching. But we say, I'll tell you another story. Rava was wandering. We talk about Rava a lot of times. Rava is wandering, and he stays, the Jewish thing, you stay in a shul, there's always a place for everybody to sleep there. So he sleeps there, and he sees, in the morning, there's a man and a woman, and they say, which way are you going? I'm going, I'm also going. This good, we'll walk together. He says, no, I better follow them and make sure nothing happens. So he follows after, and he sees they're talking the whole way, and he follows them a long, long way. And then he sees they get to a certain place. He says, well, I'm going this way. She says, I'm going this way, bye-bye. Nothing, and they walk up. So Rava gets to his home, and he stands there. He can't walk into his house. And he's thinking, if it were me, I wouldn't have been able to resist. At that point, Eliyahu Hanavi appears to him and says, don't worry. Kol mi shegadol mechavero, yitzro gadol himenu. Whoever is greater, his Yetzer Hara is also greater. So it's not that when you become a big chacham and you've learned a lot, so now you're less passionate. You're more passionate. You have greater passions, and you need greater strength. Okay. So you can't look down at a person and say, look what they did, Maybe they're a greater person. They got a greater Yetzer Hara. That's how it works. Okay. So you have this drive, like a pleasure drive inside you. That's the potential bad. And then it expresses itself as you go through life and finds another pleasure and another pleasure, another pleasure. And you gain all of that, and those are called the dirty clothes. All the clothing, the bad clothing that this drive gets. And that's actual bad, okay? So now what does the tzaddik have to do? He has to eliminate all of that pleasure, all of those pleasures. Once he eliminates them, and he no longer has pleasures for just things for the sake of doing them. He doesn't have that drive, those pleasures anymore. All his pleasures are only in things that are serving God. Okay? So then he's left with just the potential for bad. That's all that's left there. What does he have to do with that? He has to turn that pleasure drive around and now show it. Hey, you like these things? I'll show you. Oh, mental barbarism. I'm going to show you pleasure that's even greater than that. I'm going to show you way beyond, pleasure way beyond, that makes that into nothing. I'm going to show my pleasure drive, pleasure in the divine. And once it tastes that, it'll never go back again. And that's that transformation of what was before potential bad, now becomes potential good. The Yetzer Hara becomes a Yetzer Tov. Okay, that's the step that the complete tzaddik does. But this person didn't get that far. He eliminated the act of bad, but the essence bad, he didn't manage to turn it around. So such a person is called an incomplete tzaddik, and a tzaddik whose bad is subdued to him. The implication is that he still has a tiny smidgen of bad within the left chamber of his heart, only that it's subdued and overwhelmed by the good of the divine soul that has taken over its chamber, rendering it utterly negligible. So in Hebrew, it's batel. Okay? So that's why, subjectively, it seems to this tzaddik that he's chased the bad away, and that there's nothing left of it whatsoever. But the objective truth is that it's still there. Why is it? How's it still there? For if all the active bad totally vanished from within him, then the essence bad of his animalistic soul, her core pleasure drive, would genuinely be switched over to good. So that's the difference. That's the difference between the incomplete tzaddik and the complete tzaddik. So now imagine you have this tzaddik, and he, as far as he is aware, there's no bad inside him. If you ask him, he says, "My heart's empty. I don't have any Yetzer Hara. I have no desire for these things. It's not like I'm pestered by this. I have no desire." Do you feel that you love God? I completely love God, 100%. We say, yeah, but you didn't turn your Yetzer Hara over into a Yetzer Tov. That means there's still some bad inside you. He says, why? I don't feel any bad. Why? That's the question we have to deal with. Now, would he know if he changed his Yetzer Hara into Yetzer Tov? So it seems, that he would, because it's a completely different level. So he'll become a completely different person at that point. Can you imagine the passion of the animal soul turned towards the divine? I'm going to say that Rabbi Levi Yitzhak Berdichev was a big city in Ukraine. I guess it still is. But it was also a city full of, it was one of the first places for the masculine, the Enlightenment movement, and Yiddish theater, making fun of all the rabbis and all. So it had a lot of difficult people there. And Rabbi Levi Yitzhak was very friendly with these people. He tried to pull them in, show them a lot of love. And one time he told one of these, the big Rishaim there, he says, I so much envy you. I said, you envy me? Why? Because of all the fun I have? Yeah, sort of. Really, Rabbi? Why did you come along to the party? Says Rabbi Levi Yitzhak says, let me explain to you. He says, I know one day you're going to do tshuva, right? When you do tshuva, you're going to take, right? You're going to take all your affairs, all that, and you're going to turn it, all those things, you're going to turn them into good, right? So now I only do good with my Yetzer Tov, right? And the Yetzer Tov, he's nice. He does nice things and so on. But your Yetzer Hara, when it does things, it's got such gusto, such energy. Wow. So when your Averas become mitzvahs, they're going to be so powerful. So powerful. It's like, there's a good angel and a bad angel. Good angel's so nice. The bad angel, whoa, right? So make that bad angel, let the Yetzer Hara into something good. It's powerful. Very powerful. You come on Friday night, you come home, and it says there's two angels coming with you, the good one and the not good one, right? They're both angels. They're both there to help you. It says if the table is a mess and no tablecloth, the dishes aren't there, nothing's set up, and the whole place is a mess, and total chaos. So the bad angel says should be like this the whole week, and the good angel is forced to say Amen. But if it's a beautiful table and everything's set and the wine is there and everybody's rested, so the good angel says it should be like this the whole week. And the bad angel says Amen. Now, which Amen is a bigger Amen? Obviously, the Amen of the bad angel is a much bigger Amen, because everything it does is with the power. So you really want that Amen. And the Amen is more powerful than the bracha itself. That's the Amen you want. Now that's why you have a bad angel, to say that big, strong Amen. See? So a person knows, apparently, when he's changed the Yetzer Hara into a Yetzer Tov, because there's a whole new power over here, a whole new energy. That you can know. So you say to the disciple, there must still be some bad in there, because otherwise you'd have changed the bad over into good. So, but how could there be any bad in him? He's a tzaddik. And we said that he subdued it completely. He overwhelmed it. It's gone. It's batal l'tev. He fulfilled destroying it. Yeah, so we said before, as it says, destroy the bad from within you. So he fulfilled this bi'ar Torah, destroyed it. But it's still there. I destroyed it. How is it still there? It's okay. So we're going to explain that. We're going to explain the tzaddik, especially the incomplete tzaddik. We'll explain the complete tzaddik too. Okay. So here's the summary over here. We followed the internal battle of the divine soul to the point of the incomplete tzaddik and the apparent impasse at which he arrives. He flooded the left chamber to his heart with divine love until the bad within it is completely overwhelmed and rendered ineffective. And yet he is not able to turn it around to good. It remains there within him in its default bad state. So this leads us to step back and take a bigger and deeper look at what drives a tzaddik, what it's like to be one, and to what heights the tzaddik could rise. Hi, Mendel. Thanks for coming. You can follow the recording from beyond it. Okay, Birinian. Let's clarify the sharp distinction between the two sorts of tzaddikim, the complete tzaddik and the incomplete tzaddik. Let's look at the complete tzaddik. The essence bad, right? That core drive, right? Within him, the pleasure drive of his animalistic soul has been switched over to good. That's why he's called a tzaddik who has only good in him. So how did he accomplish this? By completely divesting himself of the filthy garments which embody that bad. That means he experiences utter revulsion for worldly pleasures, for any indulgence in things that people enjoy when they're not for the service of God, but only to satisfy the cravings of their bodies, right? So revulsion, not for pleasures, but for pleasures that are meaningless, right? When they're only to satisfy the cravings of their bodies. To him, that's revolting. He's repulsed by them because they come from, so why is he repulsed by them? Because they come from Klippa and Sitra Achra, and they get their energy from Klippa and Sitra Achra, and whatever is of the Sitra Achra, the complete tzaddik hates with an absolute hatred due to his intense love for God and for God's holiness. So, does he hate it because it hurts him? No. Does he hate it because it smells bad? No. Does he hate it because it's holding him back from serving God? No. Only one reason, because it doesn't exist in his world. It doesn't affect him in any way. So he can't hate it for any of those reasons. There's only one reason he hates it, because it's the opposite of the divine. You see the difference? It's like saying, my father never drank alcohol. I asked him, "You don't like alcohol?" He says, "No, I used to drink a lot. I used to drink beer, whatever, and drank." "So why do you never drink it?" Even like in his last years, he wouldn't drink it. He says, "Because your mother was allergic to alcohol. So I never drank alcohol. But Dad, Mom's passed away, maybe I have a beer." He says, "No, I can't stand this stuff." "Why can't you stand this stuff?" "Because your mother was allergic to alcohol." That's the only reason. Okay, if she hates it, bad for her, so I hate it, that's all. So if you love someone, you hate the things that are bad for that person. That's the way it works. So his only reason for hating bad is because it's something that's against God. True, God created it. God created something that's the opposite of him, and God's in control of it, everything, but it's still the opposite of him. It's opposing him. So he hates it, that's all. That's the only reason.
Some just regular pleasures that aren't anything bad.
Yeah, you have to use those for divine purpose.
Yeah, that's what's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. I like things that are hard.
If you just enjoy something, why is that bad?
Because life has meaning and purpose, every moment of it.
Well, if you're grateful for everything, is that enough purpose? God gave you this.
And you're grateful to him?
Yeah. Like you like going for a walk.
Yeah, sure. I like going for a walk.
So how could that be something bad?
Well, you're going for a walk because you need to serve.
Enjoy nature.
So you could say, when I enjoy nature, what do I see in nature? See, it's God's creation, and I think I would never come up with that idea. A squirrel? That's an amazing idea. It's ingenious.
Okay, so
it's beautiful. Look at that tree. Wow, I could never have made a tree like that.
So
I wouldn't even know. I can't even make a cell of a tree. I can't even make an electron.
So just enjoying the beauty of nature, that's...
Well, maybe you're enjoying the beauty of nature because by enjoying the beauty of nature, you're happier and you need to serve God with joy. And so you're serving God with joy. If it has nothing to do with God, then it has nothing to do with your divine soul. So you're just another amoeba. That's all. But everything you do, it says, in all your ways, you can know him. So you know God in all your ways.
Okay, so...
Going for a walk is a way of knowing God.
I have this gorgeous pink camellia tree in my backyard that was in full bloom. And I looked at it and I felt really happy. It kept me happy the whole day. Is that not serving God? God
and you say,
gave the tree.
Yeah, I guess. For each person in their own way, as long as it has meaning and purpose.
Pardon?
As long as it has meaning and purpose, which is almost the same thing.
So if that tree had meaning for me, that's a good enough purpose?
Well, what kind of meaning?
It was beautiful.
Try to find some way. Try to find some way to connect that experience to.
Well, God made the tree.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's your connection.
So that's the connection.
There's your connection. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, back to this. So I'm saying that what he despises is things that are totally meaningless, because that's sitra achra, something that says I'm here because I'm here. It just is. He says, well, that's the opposite of the divine. Godliness, the divine, means there is nothing else but him. And you are saying, oh, but there's me. That's I can't tolerate that. He's repelled. It's repulsive to him, such a thing. See, another type of tzaddik says, I don't like that. Why? Because involvement with that would take me away from my connection to God. Oh, so if it didn't take you away from your connection to God, you would not be repulsed by it? Then you're not really repulsed by it. It's just something you want. You want to be closer to God. And this is not letting you. That's all. So it's in a certain way self-centered. I want this. This is holding me back, so I don't like it. If it wouldn't be holding me back, I could deal with it. Whereas the complete tzaddik, he says, it's nothing to do with me. God doesn't like it, so I don't like it. I'm repulsed by it. I run away from it because I'm only interested in what God wants. This is the opposite of it. Okay, so it's due to his intense love for God and for God's holiness, a love that is great and blissful love. The degree of intimacy described in the previous chapter that is far beyond the fierce and fiery love. Remember, we talked in the previous chapter, you don't remember because it was a long time ago. But there's a fiery love and there's a blissful love. What's the difference? The fiery love is hungry. It's looking for more to burn, and it's never satisfied. Whereas blissful love, there's a satisfaction. I'm there already. I'm experiencing it. It's a taste of the world to come. A taste of the world to come in this world. And that's what this complete tzaddik experiences. And in this blissful love comes something which is, this is very counterintuitive. Blissful love leads to absolute hatred. Which is shocking. Yeah. Which is why he has to bring a proof for it. He says, because Sitra Achra is the inverse of holiness. If you love one, you hate the other. We see this from how King David wrote about those who hate God. He said, I hate them with absolute hatred. They have become my enemies. And he provided evidence. He says to God, probe within me and know my heart. But there was nothing in his heart but love for God. So his absolute hatred towards God's enemies emerged entirely out of the purity of that love. That's how it works. So this is a big shock, but it comes in very useful. We find that you can determine how much love there is in somebody by how repulsed they are from the opposite. That's a very interesting measure. Because love is next to impossible to measure. Maybe it is impossible to measure. A person can't know how much love is there inside. But the litmus test is how repulsed are you by the opposite? And that's something very in the open we can examine and see. How repulsed are you? So, since they are opposites, just as the complete tzaddik's love for God is a tremendous love, so his hatred for the Sitra Achra is a tremendous absolute hatred. And so will also be his absolute revulsion for the bad pleasures that come from the Sitra Achra. Because such revulsion is the flip side of love of God, just like hatred for the Sitra. So there's a difference between hatred and revulsion. Yeah, maybe you can describe it as hatred and revulsion. So the Sitra Achra, that's hatred. Because the Sitra Achra is abstract. It's a thing. Whereas pork, say, it's not hatred, it's revulsion. It's revulsion. Right? Interestingly, we had a tenant once. And my wife says, what's that horrible, horrible smell? I've never smelled it before, a horrible smell. I told her, he's baking bacon. No. Yeah, downstairs, and all this smell is coming up. It's a horrible smell, disgusting. My wife had never smelled it before in her life. It was a horrible smell. I couldn't imagine a worse smell than that. So that's revulsion.
It's a good thing she didn't like the smell.
I can't imagine. And Jewish people naturally can't, it's unnatural for a Jew to eat that stuff. So somehow they gets tempered, naturalized. But that's revulsion. So the hatred is the flip side of love when it comes to things like the sitra achra. But when it comes to digestibles, consumables, then it's revulsion. Okay, it's also the flip side of love. So now we have a measure. How can we know what degree of love there is? And also, we could also tell whether there's from a degree of hatred and so on. So now, we've said the riddance of that is a deep emotional state of utter revulsion. Right? How do you remove that the person has all the clothing, all the pleasures in life and so on? I'm going to remove all that. I'm not going to be pulled toward those pleasures anymore. How does he do that? Through revulsion. He's repulsed, becomes repulsed by them. That's how he removes it. Okay, so let's go back and look at the incomplete tzaddik. He does not hate the sitra achra with absolute hatred. And it looks like that's something you could tell. You could see he doesn't hate it with absolute hatred. That being so, he is not utterly repulsed by bad pleasures. And whenever the hatred and revulsion is not absolute, it must be in some way that there remains some minimal vestige of love and pleasure towards them. So he can't feel it. We can't see it anywhere. This bad is not bad that's actually active in anything. But we know it must be there. What's the evidence that it's there? That he's not completely repulsed by the bad. If you're not completely repulsed by the bad, it means there must be some love and pleasure to there. And if there's love and pleasure to there, this tzaddik's filthy garments that embody his core animalistic drive have not been removed totally and absolutely. Right? Because how do you know? Because there's some vestige of love. How do you know? You know that is a tree, like it goes step by step. We know that there's not complete revulsion. If there's not complete revulsion, it means that there's still some attraction. If there's still some attraction, there must be still some bad there. He hasn't let go of it. And that explains why that animalistic drive has not been genuinely switched over to good, because he is still in some way holding on to, maybe he's not dressed inside them, but he's holding on to it. So you can't turn it around because it's still holding on, still going in that direction. Like, you want to put the car in reverse. First thing they tell you in a driving lesson, don't put the car in reverse until it's stopped moving forward, right? Don't try that, right? Everybody messes that up on their first driving lesson. You rip the gears, okay? Don't do that. So the same thing, you got to stop going in that direction. You got to let go of the filthy garments, and only then you can turn it around. It's only that this act of that is so negligible, as though we're not even there, that it's totally ineffective. That is why he's called a tzaddik, whose bad is subdued and overwhelmed him to the good of his divine soul, but the bad is still there. So it must be that his love to God as well is not an absolute love, which is why he's called an incomplete tzaddik. And we continue, same place, next week, God willing, after Purim, when I guess on Purim we're all going to shecht our Yetzer Hara, and we'll be tzaddikim and we'll be able to experience this. So, it's a Yom Kippur. It says in Tikkun Zohar that Yom Kippurim is the day that's like Purim. So the implication is it's not quite as good. Yom Kippur is not quite as good as Purim. Why? Because on Yom Kippur you get forgiven, but only by fasting. And on Purim you get forgiven by eating and drinking.
There you go.
Which is better? Which is better? Okay, have a great Purim.
Just one question: how do you measure hate? How do you measure hate?
How do you measure hate? You see how revulsed he is. It's completely.
And what does it come out? How do you know if someone hates something more than another person?
I I figure it's far more visible than there is. If he can have an excuse that he can't see any bad within him, but if he sees he could tell that he's not utterly repulsed by something. That's the way I'm understanding it
What
now.
I mean, sitting next to the person, literally, like one person could sit next to them, and the other person cannot even go into the
I
same
think
room as
he
them.
himself could tell. He himself could tell. Is he utterly repulsed by this?
It wouldn't come down. It wouldn't come down to an action. It would just be.
He could tell how am I utterly repulsed by this? I don't think so. Then there's some bad inside. It's not bad in the way like a really bad, like he feels like doing anything. He doesn't feel no attraction to it. And it must be there because he's not say, you know what's wrong with you? You're not utterly repulsed by bad. I mean, that's a tzaddik. The only bad thing we can find you is you're utterly, absolutely repulsed by bad. That's a fault. That's a fault, you know. But for a tzaddik, you know, he's not a complete tzaddik. That's all. That's all. It's very, very subtle. It's the most subtle instance of bad you could possibly imagine. That you're not utterly repulsed. Mm-hmm. So, Halavai, we should all reach that by next Tuesday.
By next Tuesday is Purim, so maybe we're actually going to be
Purim,
there.
that's it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, work at it. Let me know when you get there. Send me an email. Okay. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.